Okay, so we're here with Sunny again, and we're gonna go ahead and do this live here and swap out our tools. Once again, she really darted out from the door, kind of messed the screen up a little bit, but again, that was a problem that she had at home. She's actually gotten out of the front door, ran down the street, and obviously she doesn't have recall, so she didn't come back. But it's pretty dangerous. It's pretty dangerous when she's willing to run kind of full speed and try to drag you. So we're gonna go ahead and make this switch here. So this will be the first time. And let's see how she does with some teaching here, because she definitely really needs the proper tool so that we can keep her safe and really kind of start to slow her brain down. I think that's a lot of her impulse, or her lack of her impulse control, is really just because her brain is going 100 miles an hour, right? So we really need to give her a job to do, which is pay attention, start to think about, oh, even there, that was good. Little yawn that she gave right there. It's the first time I've seen that. But yeah, we really need to start to slow her down, get her to start to pay attention to us. Okay, so here it is. I have her on the prong here. It's fitted correctly. We've got her on her 6-foot leather leash. And let's go ahead and start working this. So as we saw yesterday, we were doing some of the turns on the rope lead. And again, she does this kind of huffing, slight hacking thing that, you know, the owner said took her to the vet, and that's fine. I still think that might be just part of her brain just going too fast. You know, she gets ahead of herself. She kind of inhales some treats or inhales some food. So we want to slow her down. Good, this is good. So the collar is yet to be engaged here, right? Good girl. She is following. Good girl, come on, let's go. Okay, so I'm just gonna be making these turns. Again, I'm walking on a straight line here, turning to my right. Good girl. And notice I'm just pivoting, right? So I'm gonna pivot and turn straight back. Good girl. And if she's making this turn with me, good girl, I'm gonna go ahead and acknowledge that. Good girl. So I can acknowledge that, yes, good girl, with some type of just positive feedback, right? So whether that's, yes, good girl, something like that, verbal, or I can go ahead and acknowledge, yes, with a treat, right? But one thing I'm not actually doing right here is luring her with the food, okay? Because she's old enough, she's smart enough. I don't think I need to like have it in front of her like this so that she can make the turn, okay? Yes, we might do that if she were younger or having a bit of a harder time, okay? So I'm giving her a little bit of leeway, right? Actually a lot of leeway. I'm actually giving her the entire length of the leash to make the turn with me, right? So as I make my turn, I'm letting the leash slide out and giving her the entire 6 feet to make the turn with me. And little by little, we will be shortening the leash. So there we go. That was our first time engaging there. There we go. Right, so let's see what happens there. Good girl, good girl. Let's see what happens right here. Yeah, that's good, good girl. That was fast. Good, so basically what happened was she hit the end of the leash, she missed the turn. I gave a quick, yes, good girl, quick jab of that leash, and she said, whoa, I missed the turn. Good girl. So, good girl. The timing is proper. So I'm already making the turn when the leash will become, yes, tight and the collar becomes engaged, right? Good girl, yes, good girl. So again, what I don't want is to drag her through the turn. I actually want to let some leash out, give some slack, and then make the turn, right? So you want to, good girl, you want the dog to be making the decision to turn, and it's not us forcing them through the turn, which is essentially what's been happening every time she's on the leash. Yes, up until this point. We are having to manage her, especially, yes, when she's on her harness. We're having to micromanage her, pull her, redirect her everywhere. Yes, she hasn't understood how to make her own decision to follow based on, yes, based on some negative feedback when she doesn't do it correctly, right? So far, good girl. Still, really only engaged the leash one time there, or engaged the collar, okay, and gave her a little leash correction right there. Yes, good girl. which is now giving her the ability to, yes, understand, oh, if I do make the turn, yes, he gives me good feedback. If I don't make the turn, whoa, I felt the collar there, right? Good girl. So it's very, very black and white. Good, yeah, good. Good girl. Good girl. Yay! So we'll come to a stop right here. Sit. Good. I'll ask her to sit. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump right back into this. Another exercise here. So again, always making sure that our collar is high on the neck. Okay. So less pressure on her and a little bit more leverage for us, right? Avoids the throat and trachea that's lower on the neck, right? Actually where her house collar is sitting. Okay, it's really low, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and start to teach her a little bit more limitations on the leash. That's essentially what is lacking, right? Impulse control and limitations on the leash. So her understanding of, oh, right, I'm not allowed to just dart out, I'm attached to you, needs to be developed. So let's go ahead and work with her food here, which we did do a little bit of this yesterday. So I'm gonna go ahead and here, when the nose hits the ground, the leash is gonna be engaged, because based on the amount of leash I'm giving her right now, okay, based on the amount of leash I'm giving her right now, it's loose, but if her nose goes to the ground, then it becomes tight, which is incorrect, right? I'm trying to teach obviously not only her, but all of our dogs, that if they're putting tension on the leash, it's their fault. And I need to teach them how to relieve the tension, okay? So this is really how we're gonna start to teach them, and then we're gonna hold them accountable for that tension on the leash, okay? So, sit, good. Let me just lure her up into a sit. So I have my 2 treats, we'll throw one. Yes, and again, we did a little bit of this yesterday anyways, right? So she has a basic understanding of it, okay? But now if we do need to give her a leash correction, yes, for impulsively pulling out, it'll be a little bit different now on her new collar, right? Good girl, good girl. So there. Look, 2 fingers, guys, 2 fingers, okay? I'm literally holding this with 2 fingers. The timing was correct, right? She pulled out to the treat, elbow hinged correctly, and engaged collar with a fist to stomach motion, right? A jab, okay? I don't want to pull her. Again, she's so used to being pulled everywhere that she's going to resist that. Here, I'm just trying to send her a signal and say, hey, don't do that, okay? So let's try again. Throw treat. Perfect, right? She's like, again, with correct feedback and correct understanding and timing, again, it shouldn't take too long to get the point across. When it's very black and white, it's very, this was bad, this is good, okay? They figure it out very quickly, yes, to where hopefully, let's see, there you go, good girl. Hopefully she understands, like, oh, just leave those ones on the ground. Those ones are not for me. Okay, so again, we're doing so many things here, trying to teach her not to pick things up off of the ground also, okay? Limitations, okay? Good girl. Leash manners, okay? Even simply how to stay seated by my side, right? So again, we always want to go layers deep in what we're doing, okay? The surface level would be, all right, just teaching my dog how to, stay seated, but really, we're going layers deep. Impulse control, limitations, okay? The ability to not continue to challenge, which essentially is part of limitations, right? If we tell her don't pick those ones up off of the ground, we don't want her to continue to try and challenge, okay? So let's keep going, throw, yes, good girl. And guys, it's very easy when the dog figures out which one is beneficial for them, right? So, yes, like totally ignore those ones on the ground and don't go for them, and then easily get rewarded, right? This is so easy for a dog where they're like, well, why would I go for those ones when I can just not pull out and just get rewarded the entire time? Okay, so eventually, obviously, we're gonna make this a standard rule, okay, where we're not gonna be rewarding her, obviously, every single time. It will be an expectation, but if you're looking at the dog's point of view here, the dog should say, well, I'm definitely not gonna go for those ones because I'm just gonna get rewarded every time if I choose not to, right? So let them, yes, make a decision. Give them a decision to make, okay? So, look, what would the regression of this be? Okay, it's like working out, right? You have difficulties in exercises and workouts, and there's regressions to it to make it easier until you work up, right? So sure, a regression of this might be to, really kind of do this number here where you're really showing her the food and throwing it like this, and then trying to use your food to keep her focused. You could do that, okay? Obviously, I'm really relying a little bit more on giving her a signal with that leash correction than I am trying to bribe her with my food, right? I'm not wanting to bribe her where the only reason why she's not pulling out is because I'm holding this food in front of her face like this, okay? That's not what I'm wanting here, because obviously she's not making a decision, okay? I'm basically just making it easy for her by using the food to keep her focused, okay? So what I do is I just throw one and I, yes, put the hand behind my back with the second one, right? So essentially it becomes a reward and not a bribe, right? A reward would be that she makes the decision first, yes, and then she's given the food, okay? Bribe would be holding it in front of her face and saying, please don't go for that one. Please don't go for that one. Like this, yes, right? So essentially, again, it's gonna work, but for this dog, for how smart Sunny is, I would rather do it this way, okay? Maybe if she were a little bit younger, I might have to do, if it were a young puppy, I might have to do a couple reps of that bribing, like that, right? In order to like just develop the understanding, just get a few reps in and then I can start to fade it out, okay? So that was really good. The other part to this, again, is always making sure that when I come to pick these up, she doesn't go after them or snatch them, right? So I always gonna stay loose on the leash right here so that I can control that also. And that other tip here is we never give them these ones, right? I don't wanna pick this one up off of the ground and give it to her because I don't wanna build that understanding that she's gonna get the ones off of the ground. Okay, so sure, there's a little bit of, obviously there's a huge difference on her picking them up on her own versus me picking it up and giving it to her. Obviously there's a huge difference, but I still don't wanna even develop the understanding that she's gonna get those ones, okay? I would much rather her understand like, oh, I gotta get them from him, right? Actually from him and not from the ground from him, okay? Good girl, good girl. So that was really good, okay? So, good girl. So the next part of this, okay, come on. Good girl, good girl, good girl. So I wanna move on a little bit there. So let's get back into our turning. Good girl. Good girl, yes. Good girl. So let's come to a stop, sit. Whoop. I threw one there and kind of hit her on the nose, so that was a little bit my fault. Okay, but the next part of this that I want to do is I want to hold these treats in my hand, okay? And I want to put them right here, and I want to teach her not to grab them from my hand. Okay, so we're going to make it, this is the next step up from throwing them on the ground to now me actually holding them right here, right? Yes. So the next level of impulse control and the next level of learning to have some respect around food, okay? So just because the food is present doesn't mean it's for her, right? This is where, again, she's already very pushy in general, okay? She's jumps and pushes into you and impulsive. So I want to teach her that, just because this food is here doesn't mean it's for her unless we give it to her, right? Yes, good girl. So we just kind of present the food here. Yes, good. And again, there's a huge difference on me holding it or me giving it to her, okay? So we don't want to develop that whole, like we have to keep things away from the dog because the dog is being too pushy, right? You have to teach the dog how to give space. Now, this is again, I believe personal space is dogs' #1 rule that they hold each other to naturally, okay? I mean, again, the simple thing right here is if I were a dog and this was my food, I'm going to growl and snap at her for even trying to look at my food, right? Or touch my food, or if it's a bone or whatever it is. I mean, guys, it's very similar to if you're having bad behavior with your dog trying to protect things, okay? They're possessive of their bones, their toys. You can't even go and take things away from them. This is the same thing. It's just it's reversed, right? I'm teaching her, hey, this is mine. And if you respect that, yes, I might give you some, right? So again, through the teaching phase, I'm gonna be rewarding sort of every single time we do this, but eventually it will become an expectation of, hey, but I need you to give me some space with food, and I'm gonna demand that respect around it. Okay, so very, very important for an impulsive dog. Okay, if you don't have any control or respect around food, good luck with boundaries, right? That's essentially why she runs out of the door and runs down the street and potentially get herself into, a bad situation, okay? Because we have to backtrack, and actually teach the skills, okay? You have to teach the skills of impulse control. I'm not trying to teach this on a walk. I'm not trying to teach impulse control on a walk. I'm trying to go ground level, even maybe below. We're trying to go to the basement here of developing her understanding, okay? And then I can start to apply it in other areas, right? So we can throw it all together here. Throw some on the ground, okay? And we'll start to up the ante by throwing a few. So there was 3 I threw, and then give her 1. Okay, so we can start to space out the rewards, right? She has to understand, like, oh, okay, I have to leave a few of those before I just get 1 now. Again, very, very smart, right? When we break things down for her, very simple, very black and white, very negative, positive, okay? Negative, positive. The dog's like, well, this is great. I know how to make a decision. I know which one affects me in a certain way, and I'd rather make this decision. Okay, so going back when we talked a few days ago with Loba, and sort of understanding that, life has corrections, life has rules, life has consequences. Okay, if it's not all rainbows and butterflies and hummingbirds all the time, right? And again, I also think that it's not about being harsh, okay? It's not about being harsh. She's not shut down. I barely had to engage the collar here, which a massive difference already from how she was on the rope lead. Massive. She was willing to, let's retest that one, okay? She was willing to really jump up in the air, bite the leash, again, almost push through the door, okay, the screen door, to just go, okay? Massive difference on how much pressure she's willing to put. I'm literally here holding this, again, 2 fingers in the hand here, okay, to control this impulsive dog that, again, almost pulled Cynthia. Okay, Cynthia's very strong, right? But with the incorrect tool, she had all the leverage. When your dog is at this height, okay, and 65 pounds, okay, and you have incorrect tool on them with not only rope lead, but you put a harness on that dog, when they're here, where's all the leverage? It's on them, right? If you're low and you're pulling something that's up, you have the leverage, okay? So massive difference here on, yes, good girl, how much it's taking to almost stop her. She was almost unstoppable before. So again, she's not a bad dog, right? Yes, she's not a bad dog. This is not a dog that's trying to bite us and is really fighting and resisting, and then really taking it personal, where it's turning on us and because just to break that down, I have had dogs in this exact exercise right here. The moment I tell them don't get that food, they've tried to bite me. They've tried to bite me, okay? She's not like that, right? She's a sweet dog. She just lacks the skills and the understanding. Okay, good girl. Yay, good girl. So, really good here. I think we might end right there. That was a great session. First introduction to her collar there, okay? And what we can see is, okay, that's gonna be the correct tool for her. And we're gonna build on this next time. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun right now. We'll do a little bit of play, and then we'll build on this the next time. Yeah, good girl.